Good morning, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those in the Tribune, those following via social media, and members of the media. Very good morning to all. I welcome you to this public meeting of Parliament. This is public meeting number 15 for today, Friday, April 19th. We have established a quorum of 8 members, so I invite you to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received a notice of absence from MP Luc Mercelina, MP Melissa Gums, MP Emmanuel, MP Arundel, MP Irian, as well as a notice of lateness from MP De Weaver. I just want to ask members of Parliament in general, if at all, when at all possible, to please send notifications regarding lateness or absence via email. It makes it a little more controllable in terms of making sure that it is mentioned that we have received your notice. So if that can be done, of course, if you have a very urgent situation and you send it to our Secretary General by WhatsApp, that's not a problem, but at least officially it can be booked in and noted when we receive it by email. So I thank you in advance for your cooperation, and I ask if there are any other notifications. I see MP Duran has requested the floor. MP Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to you, good morning to my honorable colleagues, and good morning to the people of St. Martin that are tuned in. Madam Chair Lady, I have a brief notification. I was here on Monday regarding a different subject matter, but I find it remiss of me not to mention that in no way, shape, or form was any authorization letter given to the contractors or the owners of PDP to work in and around the monument that is in Simpson Bay, Cold Bay area. So I just want to make that clear because I've been hearing rumors that an authorization letter was given pending the building permit. So that is absolutely not true. Secondly, I want to say that maybe 95% of the time I disagree with my colleague Emmanuel, but yesterday the move made to secure our patrimony, I have to agree with it. Our staff have been working day in, day out to secure different areas, and also we gave a warning and different notifications a couple months ago to a similar situation. Last week, they were given a notice to stop. On Tuesday, they were stopped again, and they continued on Thursday. So I want to just urge the general public to please refrain from doing illegal activities, illegal meaning not having permission. And I hope that this message resonates and it's a learning lesson for those that want to violate the law. So thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you.
Thank you, MP Duran. I see that MP Marlin is also requesting the floor. MP Marlin, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, colleague MPs. Madam Chair, in our first meeting as the new Parliament, my colleague MP made a very strong statement, and I would like to echo that statement today to my fellow MPs. Show up. It is impossible, Madam Chair, that every week or every other week when we have public meetings, the viewing audience, the listening audience, send me messages, what time the meeting starting. So I would like to urge my fellow MPs, especially the MP who made that strong statement, show up. I thank you.
Thank you, MP Marlin. Are there any other notifications, members of Parliament? No, that is not the case. So we go over to the agenda points for this meeting, and we start, of course, with incoming documents. Secondly, we have an advice concerning appointment of the first acting Secretary General of Parliament. Thirdly, a proposal to amend the function book of the Secretariat of Parliament. And fourthly, a proposal to amend several articles and addition of several new articles to the Rules of Order of Parliament. So before we go over to agenda point 1, As this is a public meeting, I just want to remind you of the introduction of the usage of interruptions during public meetings, and just that we maintain the guidelines. These are in accordance with Article 43 of the Rules of Order. I'll just run those down briefly for everyone. So the chairperson is the one to permit interruptions, and these interruptions should aim to 1, seek clarification, 2, challenge assertions, or 3, contribute additional information on the agenda point. The remarks made during interruption should be brief, or questions can be posed but without any introduction to such. I am charged with ensuring order and decorum during the meetings and also with the use of interruptions. Members, ministers, and guests must maintain parliamentary decorum and refrain from making offensive or disorderly interruptions. And as we have agreed, members will be allowed 3 interruptions per agenda point. The interruptions are to be posed from the lectern placed in the Legislative Hall, which will be placed. So going over to agenda point number 1, all members have received the list of incoming documents and the proposals for further handling. These numbers are IS 513 through IS 577. Of course, these are for the parliamentary year 2023-2024. On this agenda point, are there any comments or proposals on the list as presented of the incoming documents for handling, how these are to be handled? I don't see digitally or from an indication from the members, so then we can approve the list and proposals, and these are then herewith approved. We go over to agenda point number 2, and that is the advice concerning the appointment of the first acting Secretary General of Parliament. According to Article 57, paragraph 3 of the Constitution, the Secretary General is appointed, dismissed, or suspended by Parliament. Furthermore, in accordance with Article 13 of the Rules of Order for Parliament, in addition, the Secretary General, Parliament appoints 1 or more acting Secretaries General. An acting Secretary General replaces the Secretary General when necessary. On March the 13th of 2016, Parliament appointed Mrs. Anne Groen-Gomes as the first acting Secretary General of the Parliament of St. Martin. With the honorable discharge of Mrs. Groen-Gomes as of September 11th, 2021, the position of first acting Secretary General became vacant. The position of first acting Secretary General was advertised in local and regional newspapers in 2022. After going through several application procedures with several candidates and carefully considering the interview results, the Presidium decided to propose Ms. Jessica S. K. Weeks as the new first acting Secretary General of Parliament in accordance with Article 13, paragraph 1 of the Rules of Order of Parliament. This proposal was also discussed in the meeting of faction leaders. Ms. Weeks has been employed at the Government of St. Martin and has related work experience in addition to the fact that she meets the job requirements as outlined. The Central Committee deliberated on the filling of the position of First Acting Secretary General in its meeting of April 17th of this year. All members have received the advice from the Central Committee to the public meeting with the name of the person to be appointed by Parliament as the First Acting Secretary General as of May 15, 2024. Members, the allotted speaking time is 20 minutes in the first round and 10 minutes in the second round. As this is a public meeting, the indication to speak will be noted from the speakers list. So I don't observe anyone wishing to do so. Yes, I do observe at least one member so far. And I give the floor as soon as MP Roseberg is ready. She has the floor. MP Roseberg, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Secretary General, my colleagues present here today, the public in the Tribune, and the ones viewing online. For the ones that know me, I'm a person who values competence in our leadership. The decision to make or to appoint Mrs. Weeks as our first acting Secretary General is a crucial one for our organization. And I would like to start by first saying it's nice to see other female powerhouse, most probably to be added to Parliament of St. Martin. And for the others that also know me, I'm a critical person, sometimes maybe too critical, but I do think that it's important to continue asking and posing critical questions. But in this case, after reviewing Mrs. Weeks' qualifications, also knowing that she has a legal background, legal expertise, I see no reason to doubt her ability to fulfill this important role. Her legal background and skills should make her a strong candidate or a strong person for this position. I also want to emphasize that her appointment should not be clouded by political affiliation. I'm aware, I think Country St. Martin is aware, where she came from and in which camp she was supporting. But I don't do politics on the floor of Parliament. It shouldn't be the case. And I believe at this point, we need to focus on what's best for our organization and also best for the future of St. Martin. Politically appointed positions are unfortunately not known for qualification, at least not a lot of times known for qualifications, but a lot of time for who do you know and who do you support. But in this case, I can fully stand behind her appointment, as I believe she fits the qualifications for this position, and therefore I will be supporting the appointment of Mrs. Weeks as our first acting Secretary General, and I believe we should give her a fair chance, and we should focus on choosing competence and dedication to lead us forward. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Roseberg. No other person, MP that is, has indicated their need to speak on the topic. So I want to thank MP Roseberg as well as the other members of Parliament. And MP Roseberg, I need to ask you if there's any need for you to say something in the second round. That is not the case. So I again thank the members of Parliament, and we have the advice of the Central Committee with the name of the person for this position, and we will vote with ballots on this position as described by Article 70 of the Rules of Order. So I will appoint a committee of tellers of 2 members who will be in charge of the voting procedure. As members of this committee of tellers, I want to ask MP Grisha Heiliger Martin, who will also be the president of the committee, as being the first mentioned, as well as MP Marlin. So, and I just need to remind everyone that this meeting is not adjourned while the committee verifies the ballots. We're in the process of voting by ballot for the person for the position of first acting Secretary General of Parliament. Thank you. So members, of course, you received the ballot and you will indicate your, the name of the person. You will indicate your decision, or yes, your vote with mentioning the name of the person. So just that we understand, members, so it's not about voting for or against the proposal that is on the table, but rather this is voting on persons, so the name of the person should be mentioned on the ballot. We are allowing the committee to tally the ballots, and we await that to take place. Sorry, I see that the chair lady is ready to give the results, and oh, okay. I was wondering, but we needed to just make sure that the mic is open. So MP Heiliger, you have the floor to report the committee's findings. Just let me adjourn for 2 minutes. Let's get that technical issue going. This meeting is adjourned for 2 minutes. After a brief adjournment, as I invite the chair lady of the Telling or Tellers Committee to present the findings of the committee on the election selection of the position for the first acting Secretary General of Parliament. MP Heiliger.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to those listening and viewing online, and one person in the Tribune. Good morning to you. We have had 9 votes cast and 9 votes unanimously cast for Ms. Jessica Weeks.
Thank you, MP President of the committee. The Ms. Jessica S.K. Weeks is elected as the first acting Secretary General. And to this, the gavel. And now I thank the President and member, MPs Heiliger and Marlin, of the committee for that job that you executed so well. And on behalf of Parliament, I want to congratulate Ms. Jessica S.K. Weeks, who has been elected to fulfill the position of first acting Secretary General. I wish Ms. Weeks much strength, wisdom in the fulfilling of this very important job. We go over to agenda point number 3. And this is the proposal to amend the function book of the Secretariat of Parliament. As mentioned during the Central Committee meeting handling this agenda point, The Secretariat is the central service unit of the Parliament and is charged with providing organizational, administrative, and legal support to the Parliament in the performance of our duties. Over the years, since the revision of the function book for the Secretariat of the Parliament in 2015, it has been established that there is a need for additional functions, so-called FTEs, within the formation of the Secretariat to further strengthen the functioning and provision of support to the Parliament. Currently, the formation of the Secretariat has 14 FTEs according to the present function book. Through this proposal, the Presidium is proposing to add a number of functions to the formation of the Secretariat of the Parliament of St. Martin. A permanent challenge at this time is the space available in this current Parliament building. Nevertheless, the following functions are proposed with the future in perspective, and these are: 1, a legal advisor; 2, an additional DIF officer; thirdly, an additional PR officer / assistant to the Secretary General; and fourthly, a secretary to the Secretary General of Parliament. On April the 17th of this year, a Central Committee meeting was held, during which the advice to amend the function book of the Secretariat of Parliament was discussed and approved. Subsequently, this advice was sent to the public meeting, and the advice of the Central Committee to the public meeting is for Parliament to approve the above-mentioned proposal establishing 4 extra functions in the function book of the Secretariat. Members, you have received by email all the necessary documentation pertaining to the expansion of the function book of the Secretariat of Parliament. And as is customary for this particular agenda point, the allotted speaking time is 20 minutes in the first round. And if the need for a second round is there, then that would be 10 minutes. I look to see on the speakers list and realize that no one has at this moment the desire to speak to the topic. And if there's no first round, then there cannot be a second round. And so I want to thank you, members of Parliament. And we have therewith, after having our deliberations in the Central Committee, for this public meeting, we have come to the end of the deliberations on this advice. And according to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now go over to voting. And I ask if any member would want a voting by roll call, so-called hoofdelijke stemming, on the proposal to expand the function book of the Secretariat with 4 extra functions. I don't hear any response wanting hoofdelijke stemming, so this advice is accepted unanimously as proposed by the Central Committee. Advice accepted. So now we go over to agenda point number 4. And this is the proposal to amend several articles and add several new articles to the Rules of Order for Parliament. As explained in the Central Committee meeting handling this topic, for some time now, a proposal for a new Rules of Order for the Parliament of St. Martin has been discussed in faction leaders' meetings during different compositions of Parliament. With a view to the more efficient functioning of the Parliament and the experience during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Presidium has proposed to make a number of urgent changes while we continue with the overall review of the Rules of Order. These additions and amendments that we will be dealing with today, as proposed by the Central Committee, relate to the legal basis for a code of conduct for members of Parliament. And I pause here to explain that one will not find the code of conduct in this proposal. It's creating the legal basis to establish such. The discussions regarding a code of conduct for Parliament will continue the process that has already started for this code. So it's that the legal basis for the code of conduct. We also have the removal of a member from a meeting another amendment, a tie voting regulation. How do we deal with ties in voting? The option to remove visitors and audience members is another proposal, part of the proposal, and clarifying the quorum requirements for public meetings. This change also introduces the possibility for virtual meetings in special circumstances. Also on April 17, 2024, a Central Committee meeting was held, during which the advice to amend and add a number of articles to the Rules of Order for Parliament was discussed and approved. Subsequently, this advice was sent to this public meeting. The advice of the Central Committee is for Parliament in its public meeting to approve the above-mentioned proposal. Members, you have received all the necessary documentation pertaining to this subject via email, and if necessary, the speaking time will be 20 minutes in the first round, and if we have a first round, 10 minutes in the second round. So I want to make sure that we don't have any speakers on the topic before, and no, we don't. So I want to thank the members of Parliament. With this and the proposal from the Central Committee, we have come to the end of the deliberations on the advice. And according to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now go over to voting. And again, my question, if any member requires voting by roll call, or as we call it, hoofdelijke stemming. I look around, no indication of such, and that would mean that this advice too is accepted unanimously as proposed by the Central Committee. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we have come to the end of this meeting. I thank you for your cooperation in getting these matters out of the way that regard actually the functioning of Parliament, the Secretariat, the functions for the Secretariat, the changes to the Rules of Order, etc. So once again, thank you for your participation, and I hereby close this public meeting of Parliament. Meeting closed.